I'm Dan Slaughter. I'm the Chief of Police with the City of Clearwater. That's S-L-A-U-G-H-T-E-R. I wanted to just update everyone about a call we responded to this morning. This morning at about 8:49 in the morning, we responded to 1639 Flagler Drive with regard to a shooting that had just occurred. A resident at that location had reported that a gentleman had unlawfully entered the residence, and a struggle and attack ensued. She was able to reach out and call 911 during this attack, but the attack persisted, at which time she was able to retrieve a gun that she had lawfully purchased, and she used that gun to defend herself and fired one shot, which resulted in the death of the intruder. The intruder is identified as a Justin William Wright with a date of birth of 9/27/95. He is a resident at 1637 Flagler Drive, and we are continuing to investigate. All the information here is very preliminary, and we will certainly continue to look at all of the information we've learned this morning, and still have much to do. I'm more than happy to try to answer questions, but because of the early nature of the investigation, there's not a lot that I can provide to you as confirmed information, but I certainly will try to address any questions. I'm going to go right to left, if that's okay. Yeah?
She was attacked by a neighbor of hers, is that correct?
That's what it looks like, yes, ma'am.
So you said attack, but can you describe what that means? Did you kind of strangle, hit, was it sexual, or what kind of attack?
Well, we're going to avoid talking about too many of the details, so that I can tell you that she was asleep in the residence. Okay, she was attacked. She does have injuries that are consistent with that attack. And, I think your point's well taken about the question of whether or not it was sexual in nature, but at this point, that's enough. It was scary.
How well known to one another were they?
At this point, those are a lot of the details that we're still granular trying to develop and learn, but the resident, the victim in this case, hasn't even lived at that location very long.
Have they had any interactions in the time prior to that? In the day before or the week before? I
think I know why you're asking, because there is some information we are learning about some kind of interactions between the neighbors, and what we're trying to really get down to the details and actually not just have it as a hearsay information, but there is some type of conversations that was unwelcome by the victim in this case.
When you say that the injuries were consistent with that attack, you mean that they're consistent with what she told you about the attack?
Yes, sir.
Or they're consistent with the sexual attack?
They're consistent with the attack that she described.
Mm-hmm.
And Chief, you said that she called 911 before shooting, so a 911 dispatcher was on the phone with her during this attack?
As you know, the way the 911 call comes in, it goes to the regional 911 center and gets transferred to us. I've not listened to the tape yet for the point where they initially received their regional 911, but yes, much of this would have been captured on a 911 tape, it sounds like. We're anticipating hearing that on the tape.
And it appears this was a case of self-defense?
Absolutely. There is, at this time, there's no information for us to believe it's anything other than that. But as we're going to really, there's a huge amount of responsibility when somebody loses their life. So of course we're going to, make sure that we go through all of the data, the information, and do all of the investigative work that we need to make sure that recollection is accurate.
How did he get in?
That we're still trying to determine. He's unfortunately going to be the one that knows that information, and he's not able to provide it.
Can you spell Justin's name again?
Sure. Justin, Justin. Middle name is William, common spelling. The last name Wright is Wright.
Is he known to you guys? I know he's new to that neighborhood, but does he have a criminal history with you guys?
We are not aware of any local criminal history. We certainly don't have any documented contacts that we found so far. There is some criminal history of out of state, which is actually very minor, not consistent with what we're talking about today.
When it comes to two questions. One is, when it comes to the attack itself, did any of the injuries approach a serious nature?
No, the injuries we have are consistent with the struggle, with a fight. Not certainly. I don't believe that it's going to require any hospitalization or anything of that nature.
And then how is the victim doing right now, emotionally, mentally, after dealing with this?
Good people don't want to have to do this kind of thing to protect themselves, so that she's upset. She's upset.
Did she specify whether he came in maybe for her or for something valuable inside her house?
I don't believe she knows truly what his motives are, but I do believe that as we continue to do our investigation, once we kind of vet through some additional information, we might be able to provide additional clarity, but I just can't do it today.
And does this fall under the standard ground law?
Well, stand your ground, it could fall underneath the Castle Doctrine, and there's certainly Florida State statute specific just to self-defense. There was, the debate between a lot of times with stand your ground is a kind of a duty to retreat argument, and why people who are not in favor of that talk about duty to retreat. There was no opportunity for this woman to retreat.
Did he have any weapons?
I don't know, not this time. We're not aware of any weapons.
And was she in bed, asleep?
I'm not going to get into those details right now as we continue to look through some of them. We're still working the scene, as I think you probably all are aware. I'd like to just make sure that we look at everything before I answer that.
What happens next in your investigation? What are you guys are you trying to figure out the motive? What was his, what
Yeah,
was
we certainly don't just say, yeah, chalk it up to self-defense and move on. There's an awful lot of work that'll occur. The crime scene is going to be investigated just as any other death or murder or homicide, or even in this particular case, potentially a justified homicide. Obviously, there's many other interviews that we'll want to do. We'll want to definitely get into the victimology and the suspect and make sure that there's no information that I don't have today for you, that we make sure. We'll attend an autopsy and look at the trajectory of the bullets and the handgun. We will do, there's a lot of work that goes into this. Generally there's not a lot of interest on it after today, but there will be a good several months worth of work by the detectives.
Was anything captured on videotape, his entry, anything inside the house?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Was anyone else home?
No.
Do you know how many bullets were fired?
I'm going to say no, at least one.
Does he have any family at his residence?
There is family local, and that's one of the reasons for the delay. We wanted to make sure that they were aware.
Do they live there at his house or no?
I believe he does have some, but I'm not certain. He does have local family. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming out.